back to Paz Amor. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited about today's episode. We have one of my absolute faves, published poet and friend, Fela Park. I am going to introduce her, and we'll get into a really solid interview filled with lots of fun things about her process. Fela Park is a queer trans writer and poet from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Her work consists of science fiction, poetry, and literary fiction. Through these themes, she explores the self with themes of transhumanism, myth, magic, and visceral body horror. She writes about her past, present, and future identities by relating her past and present self to the myth of Persephone and diving her future self with speculation of body modification through cybernetic chrome. Thank you so much for being here. Okay.
A name for your tombstone. You know what it's like, right? Lying on a cold, hard slab, your eyes assaulted by a glaring light. But it's not some Tulsa meth lab where machinery's shoved in your face. No, it's much more simple than that. You're just at a back alley doctor's place, lying there on your back all flat. And you're really wondering just where he went to school and did his residency, because a degree on the wall says it's in soldering. And before you can even ask out of hesitancy, he hands you an inhalant, then tells you to take a puff, and asks you what's most salient. Whether you want a body that isn't so rough, or if you want a body that feels like home, one that's soft, fleshy, made of bone, or one that's slick, flashy, made of chrome, then asks for a name to put on your tombstone. So rather than choosing only one that's right for you, you ask, well, Doc, why can't I have both? Thinking it'd make sense you want the two, and you watch him scratch his pants at a growth. Then of all the things he can do, he scoffs, wheeling over to where you're laying. He says you're one of those freaks in a cough. Well, doll, your body's about to be my plaything. And before you can put up a protest, he fills you fully with fentanyl and says sweetly how you'll be softly fleshed, then injects you eagerly with estradiol. He tells you he'll reshape your bones, that he'll turn them into fresh, shiny chrome, asking again for a name to put on your tombstone. And if that will make your body feel more like home. Chrome. Headache, fingernail lobotomy, vivisection, shattered skin, jawbone dislocation. I'm standing with my gut splayed on hot concrete coffee stains, yellowed teeth from cigarette smoke, what I wouldn't give for new body bones. A mint unit of flesh and sinew, something fresh and subtle, state of the art, lithe fingers to spin spider silk hearts, wide hips to bear my love and loam, take my body and make it sleek chrome. With silver breasts and a jawline like a knife, this is what makes me human. Strife. I am ready to evolve, mutate and pupate pit, drain me of blood and make me synthetic shit. I want to be real for you, pumping blood. I want to be here for you, feeling heat. I want to be good for you, tasting drool. I am slick with blood and clover soft hair done up in sheer lace. Moth wings drip wet viscera of my tearaway page skin. Can you spit in my mouth again? Last one. New flesh. Rebirth. In the new modern age, I abandon the old flesh. My body is TV static and radio wave transmissions. Like Nikki Brand, I die on the videodrome, strung up for late-night sycophantic pleasures. I was made for this, I say to the viewers, with hooded eyes and beggar's lips. And then I am reborn on 8mm tape, my visage made manifest, a shared hallucination. A plastic flesh cassette of straight-to-home video. A VHS of blood and bone to plug and play. I become a living, breathing machine TV set. Microplastics in my veins, and from sinew deep, teeth sprout from my pores. An ivory crown. They ask me if I'm ready to transform. If I am ready for the new me. And I imbibe my desire to inject viscous substance into old flesh I replicate like Elizabeth Sparkle on the silver screen in Hollywood on her bathroom floor. Inside my body, the new me is born. We are one. I am the catalyst. Iris is double and hands run under skin. My new self bursts from the spinal ridge, splits me open. Slick blood like glass spills across TV screen skin in mothwing pattern down my bloody open back. I attain new type and stand tall on my haunches. What was lies amass on white tile porcelain, while I run palms along slick fresh skin and sinew. The words lilt on my lips, barely a whisper. They play on the tip of my tongue, saliva sweet and sickly. and rattle round my rib cage. Viscera trails behind. I say to the voracious viewer, long live the new flesh.
Oh, what? I love that. Need to get one. I'll go just straight into questions.
Absolutely.
So, a main theme of your writing, from my perspective, seems to be transformation.
Mm-hmm.
In Moth Wings, the repetition of rebirth, death, tearing away parts of yourself, planting seeds within yourself, being angry, being desired, being loved, being fulfilled by your personal journey. Could you expound upon a particular experience in your life that you primarily pull from for inspiration?
I guess a primary place that I pull from is like my transition and just how I experience my dysphoria as a trans person, as a trans woman, which I experience it very, very viscerally, like I've told you before. Stripping away of myself and my flesh essentially and becoming new and something different from what I was.
For sure. Transformation in the physical sense is one that you can ground so vividly in your head.
Yeah.
In your artist bio, you talk about visceral body horror.
Yeah.
Please tell us, what exactly does that mean?
So I pull a lot of my imagery and just ideas from horror movies, specifically body horror movies. Something as a trans person, I am drawn to that, this like opening up of the self and the flesh, creating something new out of it. And there's a few movies that I have pulled from for my poetries, like Videodrome and The Substance, which are big inspirations for me for a poem that I'll be reading on the podcast today.
Thinking about your poetry and thinking about what you just said with the opening up of yourself, the literal physical opening up of the body in these gory films, I don't think I've gotten it more clear than now, honestly. Because it really is, being an artist, you have to come out of yourself, you have to feel these things, you have to pull it out and get it on the word, you have to get the words right. Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And what's more vulnerable than physically opening yourself?
Yeah,
physically,
absolutely.
How long have you been writing? And do you remember the first thing that you wrote?
I think it was in 2018-ish when I first took an intro to creative writing class at OSU. And at the time I was a graphic design major, so I took it in the hopes of like writing graphic novels eventually. And then I had some drama in the graphic design program with a teacher and just kind of feeling lost in it. And then I remembered that class, and that's when I made the switch. So like 2019 is when I really started writing. It was a piece that I wrote. I was the only one who, when we did like a fiction piece, I was the only one who wrote genre fiction, which technically is not allowed in the like creative writing program at most colleges. They want you to write creative literary fiction. But I had a cool adjunct grad student as a professor for that. So like she was very like receptive and respectful that I chose to write genre fiction, science fiction. And it was about an android and a girl traversing a dystopian post-apocalyptic like desert world.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like what got me into it. And then just when I changed majors, I really just fell in love with it as a way to express myself and who I am. And at the time, that was pre-transition. And then I got really into writing poetry about 2 years ago because I had taken poetry classes there, but it hadn't really clicked until I met a certain person in my life who helped me like accept myself as a trans person and like come to terms with that I am trans. And we would write poems back and forth. It's like our courting. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So that's really when I got into poetry, and then like. As I transitioned, there was some vestiges in that pre-transition poetry, like the Cicada motif. Yeah, when I came out, like, I was going through a breakup from that person. I really needed an outlet, and poetry became that outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, just 2 years old. You are natural born. You really are. That's crazy. Natural born talent with this poetry, because 2 years is such... 2 years is such a short time for art. Because it takes 2 years just to figure out.
Yeah.
And to have this, like, very clear style. And, like, I feel like when I read through your book, the works.
Yeah, Moth Wings.
Moth Wings, yes. I can really, like, I feel it's you.
Mm.
And I feel like it takes a long time to really get you in art.
Yeah.
So, no, that's natural born. That's crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah. In literature, regularly we see the butterfly to caterpillar trope,
Mm.
more or less. And it symbolizes metamorphosis,
Yeah.
obviously. But you choose to continuously use cicadas.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly?
They're one of my favorite types of bugs.
Yeah,
And just
I love
the
bugs.
yeah, I love bugs too. Just the transformation they go to from being in the ground for so long
Yeah.
and then like burrowing out and coming out of their shells essentially as this new type of not new creature but newer form. It really like resonated with me as a trans person.
With really just getting it here with you and also thinking about butterfly versus cicada,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of a harder body shell.
They are, yeah.
It's more literal.
Mm-hmm.
The caterpillar is like soft.
It's soft. It's like almost a soft cocoon, still hard,
Yeah.
but like not as sturdy as a cicada.
Yeah. Real shedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They also come out screaming.
Yeah, they come out screaming.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Something to say. Wow, you're such a poet. You got something to say.
I hope so.
Consider myself a writer in a couple of different regards.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of my time like sitting, feeling, taking the time to pause and just let it come to me.
Mm-hmm.
What is your process?
I think my process really stems when I have like something going on, but like when I'm really needing to feel something, get something off of my chest, really dig into what this emotion is and how I can express it visually through word, what I am trying to say. I write stream of consciousness mostly, which is just getting my thoughts onto the page and like structuring it. I'll also sometimes like, I'll think of something like a line that really resonates with an emotion or like headspace I'm in, structure something around that.
Yeah.
And then use a lot of imagery and words that I like to use to express other things along with it.
Yeah. I think it's so fascinating and just like signifies to me like the discipline that you have to write stream of consciousness. Like that is really a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
To really seeing like you structure what you want to write about, sometimes based off of a line and then going from there, and then also just being able to write your thoughts out. Like that takes a great deal of mental constraint.
Yeah. That's,
Especially as a writer.
Chrome is one that's very stream of consciousness. Like the first 2 lines, I was just like, what am I feeling about my body right now, and why does it feel like dissection and vivisection and like medical procedures that I not need, but like am feeling through dysphoria.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like the lobotomy of changing how you think and just, again, opening yourself up, picking things apart while you're still alive and just or reconstructing yourself, essentially.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's like that's the cicada energy, like that scream. I'm so fascinated by that because I don't hear many writers talk about writing stream of consciousness. I feel like a lot of times people will take their feelings and dissect them versus just going with it, which can be some of your most powerful words.
Yeah, it really can. I'm not really sure how I exactly go about it. It's just what do I need to say in this given moment? What is front on the mind, and how can I get it on the page?
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever go through writer's block?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I'm in a bout of it right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was able
Yeah.
to write one poem recently. Because of observing my surroundings and seeing a couple at a bar being very close and sweet.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
always-
had some more sweeter, tender moments that night. And yeah, just feeling their love throughout the space that I was in, and myself wanting that for myself, and what I would give for it, which got very visceral as it
Yeah.
does.
Lord, trust me, I deeply understand that one.
Which on that desire thing.
Yeah.
Of like, I would cut my arm off for this. I would take my eyes, give them to a crow, take my tongue and rip it out of me for it.
Swear.
Yeah.
I so feel that. Wow, the way you worded that, feeling their love within the space, feeling a couple's love within the space is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it will make you come up out of a block.
Yeah,
So
and
I
they were
totally-
complete strangers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's always the complete strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And to observe that is something so special and warm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might be like disgusting, but no, it's so warm.
Yeah.
It's so warm.
And like with my fiction, I'll get stuck on scenes and not know where to take it next, and need to
Yeah.
put it aside and come back to it. Do several rereads of like the last few scenes or like pages to see what I'm feeling and like what is this character supposed to do next? What would they want to do next realistically with who they are and how they
Yeah.
relate to me and like what I would do.
Right.
Because all of my characters in my fictions are me, because writers write their life. I forget if I read this in a book, but a lot of main characters are just the author.
Yeah. That's something that always like whenever I finish a read, I'll think like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
that what are they going through? Or
Yeah.
how does this correlate like to what they're
What
experiencing?
happened in their life that caused this?
Yeah. So do you try to push yourself out of that block, or how do you I guess really, since you said you're here now, what
Mhm.
are you doing to, I guess, feel it, to not feel it, to just let it go? Like, how do you address it, essentially?
I think I just let it not push through it, let it sit, let things happen, and then but like it'll happen, and I'll know where the stories need to go next if I need to put a poem out about it.
Yeah.
Like rereading passages and previous scenes to see where the flow of the story is going, or just kind of taking the moment to observe my surroundings, check in with myself, and like what I'm feeling, and if there's something that needs to come out.
Yeah. Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You are so vulnerable in your writing and so vulnerable in the way that you also deliver.
Mm.
How and where did the vulnerability come to?
I'm not sure to say these words about myself, and I think if I boil it down, it stems from a writer and just, I guess, a human artistic need to be understood.
Yeah.
I forget where I read this, but a lot of art, poetry, writing, a lot of just what we humans create is something that we use to help ourselves be understood by the ones around us and by the world around us. So it's just, I think it just comes from that place of like, I need people to understand me. So to do that, this has to be as much me as it can be.
Which is so wild, because to be a fictional writer,
Mm-hmm.
mainly, but you keep a reality.
Oh yeah, I try to.
Yeah. It's so important, one, in general, to be in tune with reality. But then it's also so important to be in tune with reality as a writer, because you guys are using words to express.
Language that we use to
Language,
communicate.
exactly,
Yeah.
that we use to communicate. Yeah, what a gift that you're just like, it has to be, it's how I am. I so admire that. I
Aw.
feel, yeah, a lot of times it's so hard to really push that or to be okay with that.
Mhm.
You know, like our society is so like ego driven, you know?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, and it's like, let's just like acknowledge our souls and use the words that we really want to use.
Yeah.
I have such admiration for that. I think that's so awesome. See?
Thanks.
Also referencing, piggybacking off of what you reference a lot, the main themes and then the cicadas, but you also talk about skin
Yeah.
a lot. A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
When I see it and when in reading Moth Wings and to
Mhm.
see it coming up, I'm just like, this is something like really significant to you, and
Yeah.
also just to the general story and understanding what you're talking about. Whether it's like the tearing away, the
Mhm.
regeneration, whatever it may be, what does it represent to you spiritually, one, emotionally, and figuratively?
I guess spiritually, it kind of stems from that like physical, tactile touch. Like this is how we interact with the world around us. This is how we feel. Skin is the biggest organ, you know. Like
Yeah.
it's very important. It keeps us together, keeps our insides safe and protected.
Yeah.
And it is also like, as someone who's getting comfortable in their skin again and like relearning their skin through my transition, it's just very, very important. And like I've said, I feel my dysphoria very viscerally. I've described it before as I want to be skinned alive and then let something regrow and remold itself into what I want it to be. It all kind of like blends together on it, like emotionally
Yeah.
and figuratively. Just this, the body is the vessel. It is how we interact and feel our way through the world and protects us. And
I really like what you say about it it's what holds us all in.
Mm-hmm.
That, how did you say that?
It keeps us together?
It keeps us together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about skeletons a lot. For projects or anything, I'm like, this is a skeleton. But thinking about us literally as beings, it's literally what holds us all in. It's literally a powerful shift in my mind, actually. Like, just a different perspective on, like, how I think about my own skin through how you talk about skin and also just through that answer. Like, thank you so much for saying that. You recently got published, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One, do you think that changes how you go about writing? Or do you think that it changes your perspective of being a writer? How did the experience feel?
I don't think it's changed my perspective on writing. I think it makes me feel, I guess, more secure in that I am a writer and a poet. And it's like I've done the thing. I've had a self-published collection that's pre-transition poetry through a company we shall not name. But having it in a collection of queer and trans poets, it feels very real and affirming that, like, yes, I can be taken seriously as a writer and as a poet, and that people do want to read and hear my work and can possibly resonate with it. So I don't think it's changed my perspective too much, but it has made it feel more real, which has been nice.
Yeah. Do you have any of your poems that are more of your favorites, or do you have a favorite?
I think my favorite right now is the Rebirth.
Okay.
The New Flesh Rebirth on Rebirth. That one's a favorite just because, like, it's so fresh and new as a named one. Usually, like, when I'll write a new poem, it becomes like the favorite of the day or like a couple days. But, like, I do have a spot for that one. I do have a spot for A Name for Your Tombstone in Chrome. The tarot poems that are published in The Empire of Mischances hold a special place because I wrote those over. It's a series I wrote over 3 days. Like, I took one day to write one, another day to write another, and the third day to write the other, and just sat with them all day. But just sitting with those poems, going over them, and just, like, seeing what lines fit, which is another process of mine, is, like, spending the time to workshop the poem.
Yeah.
So those three, the sister poems, Kore and Dione, which are also published, which are about the oracular goddess Dione, and Kore, who is another name for Persephone, which I identify with that myth of, like, the winter of my life pre-transition, and now I'm in the spring of my life post-transition, where I feel more alive versus, like, kind of numb and just dead inside as I did.
I really like how inspired your writing is, how inspired you are by Greek mythology. When did that come about, or has it always been?
I've always loved Greek mythology.
Yeah.
I think as a kid I had one of those, like, mythology books from the library, and it was like just Greek myths or Greek and Egyptian myths.
Yeah.
And then, like, there was a game that I played called Age of Mythology, where you got to pick as a god and, like, control units and stuff. So I grew up playing that a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, one of those real-time strategy games because I'm a nerdy gamer girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Who would you choose to be?
I would switch it around a lot, just what I'm feeling. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love mythology because it's so intricate.
And there's a lot of different interpretations too.
Oh my God. I mean, mythology books are like this thick. You can really get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk to you a little bit about mental and emotional health. Being that your choice of expression are words, I feel like a lot of times mental health is so wordy in our head. We can get really, like, just crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Go stir crazy in the head.
You know, the words, we can get stir crazy, and they can just pile up and pile up and pile up. And especially being a writer, you're literally looking for words to put into, you're looking for words to put into sentences and things that people can read. How do you quiet the noise? What's your process when feeling overwhelmed or you can't?
Get it on the page.
Yeah.
Open a computer document at work or go journal somewhere. Journaling is I slack on it so much, but when I need it, I need it.
Yeah.
And it helps. It's just getting it on the page and, like, what do I need to say about what I'm feeling?
Yeah.
And that's where the stream of consciousness comes in. Like, weeks ago, I was doing something and just feeling these really intense emotions, and I had to go sit down while hanging out with some friends and just write it out. Write out what I'm feeling and, like, what it feels like, and just It wasn't even sentences. It was like quick phrases and the repeating of words and just like word vomit on the page, essentially.
Yeah. Wow, that really does. That explains why you have the ability to write stream of consciousness. And it also comes out nice.
Yeah, sort of. Sometimes
No.
it's just a jumble of words.
Yeah. Well, you're artsy. You make it pretty.
Thanks.
No, yeah, that's really, I so believe in journaling. I have been journaling since I was 9, and I actually have majority of my journals over my life. So I am like, if you're feeling something, if you can't get it out, if you need to help get those emotions, understand where they're coming from, just write it out.
Absolutely.
And word vomit.
Yeah, word vomit on the page.
Literally. Because it's for you. I mean, if you want to share, of
Share,
course.
absolutely.
But your journal, your place where
It
you
is
write your
personal,
emotions.
yeah.
It's personal, right? So just be real. I feel like artists, we have like this heightened sensitivity. It's like blessing and a curse. I like to think of it mostly as a blessing. We feel deep.
We feel things, yeah.
Things in a creative process, they are up and down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then especially as an artist, we're up and down.
Yeah.
What do you think keeps you stable?
Taking breaks.
Yeah.
Taking breaks is really important, especially when like for one of my fiction pieces, I'm writing a lot of sci-fi right now, and one of them is a scene I'm in. I'm struggling to get through. It's creating the writer's block, honestly.
Okay.
Just, the emotions that it drags up makes me like, okay, I have to take a step away until I'm in like a better space to work on this, and I know I need to work on it to get through that.
Right.
But it is hard, and it's like, I need to be in the right headspace to do it. I need to have the time and I guess the need to do it. But yeah, taking breaks, knowing your limit for the day. I usually, when I'm in like that creative mood writing my fiction, I try and write 1,000 words just for a session for the day. It's some good advice I got from Stephen King's memoir of just writing 1,000 words a day, or just when you're doing a writing session, writing 1,000 words.
Oh, I really like that you are a person, but an artist. I really like that you're a person.
Yeah. I like that you're a person too.
Girl, helps me out a lot. No, but I really like that you're a person who believes in rest. Because I feel like a lot of
It's
times...
important.
and creatives sometimes don't get that.
Hustle culture is so silly.
Oh.
I am meant to be sitting in a park with my friends, eating grapes, reading each other things, and just writing and being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree. I'm in the friend group.
Yes, absolutely.
It baffles me. I mean, like, our creativity is endless. It's never going to run out.
No, absolutely.
So, like, the idea that so many people have, like, you got to keep going, no breaks, no sleep. What?
You're going to wear yourself out.
You're literally going to wear yourself out.
You're going to wear yourself out, and what you create is not going to be good.
No.
You have to take a break. You have to step away. Even when I was doing art, like when I was a graphic design major in my drawing classes, they would tell us to take a step back and look at it from afar.
Yeah.
Like, take a break from it, look at it from a distance, see what you need to add, and then take a moment and go back into it.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no need to rush when you're creating something. Like, it's going to take shape over hours, over days, and it's going to be what it needs to be when it's ready.
Right.
And you'll know when it's ready. Sometimes pieces are never finished.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Nothing is perfect.
Nothing's perfect. And in that imperfection, I feel like that's where the perfect happens. Like, I'm a person who really believes in imperfect perfection.
Absolutely.
It's like so interesting, and I want to ask a question off of what you just said about how, because some art can you can go forever.
You can go forever.
Sometimes it can never be finished.
Yeah.
How do you feel satisfied? When do you feel satisfied, or do you have a process where you're like, all right, I hit it, whatever it may be?
I guess with poetry, it's if the last line hits.
Oh, that's a good one.
If the last line, like, not is punchy enough, but also is punchy enough. But
Pause.
if it's...
I hate to interrupt you through your answer, but literally, that's your signature.
Yeah,
You have those killer last lines. You know what?
Can you
That's
spit in my
crazy.
mouth again?
Yeah.
A name for your tombstone.
Right.
Yeah.
No, hearing you perform for the first time, I was thinking, I don't think I've ever heard anyone end like that so consistently.
Aw.
And it's, because sometimes people like that fairy tale ending. Or they like that, like, softer. It's, like, nice the way it wraps up.
No, I need a hard
You remember.
Yeah.
feel.
It sticks with you. Like, I
Right.
want it to stick with me when I read it and when I read it aloud, because reading things aloud as a poet is very important. Like, it lets you hear how it sounds on the air.
Yeah.
Or like in the air through your own vocal cords. Yeah, I can't stress reading things aloud enough. It just helps so much to hear it instead of just in your own head.
Right. And I'd imagine that's a process of feeling satisfied.
So like when I read it just silently, when I read it aloud, I know it's done when that last line is like just
Punchy.
not punchy, but also not punchy, but it's
Yeah.
just like final in a way.
That's a good way. Yeah, I totally feel that. I love that. That's how I would tell people about your poetry. Yeah, it'd be
Aw.
like those killer last lines are gonna get you, because it does stick with you. It makes you remember. With the vulnerability that you display, and with like this understanding and like this like attention to resting and this attention to like being very real with yourself, how do you rest?
Recharging rest, like laying down, relaxing with the cats, putting on a comfort show, or like reading a book. Reading is a really good way to like kind of reset,
Wow,
get new
as a
ideas.
writer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As a writer, you should always be reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always be reading fiction, always be reading poetry, whatever medium it is that you write in. You should always be reading as a writer. Honestly, everyone should be reading. It's good for the
100%.
brain.
Yeah, for sure. It is good for the brain.
Yeah.
I love the way that you title your poetry. There's some instances like in Moth Wings, the way that the poems go, they're kind of telling a story. And then some of them are, whatever the title is. How do you go about your titles? Do you have them correlate to each other, or what's your process?
I think it just depends on the content of the poem. Like some of those ones, like desiring, needing, wanting, they all express the emotion. Lusting and yearning is
Yeah.
like, this is what I want for myself. This is what I want for my body. This is what I want for my life. Whereas like a name for your tombstone is like a line from the poem itself that just like really struck me as I was writing it. And I know I needed the title to be that. Or with Chrome, it's like, I want cybernetic chrome for my body as like part of my dysphoria. So it's like, well, why wouldn't I title it this?
Right.
Because that's essentially what the poem is about getting a chrome body and becoming new and slick and flashy.
Totally. Flashy.
Yeah.
Do you title after then?
Yes,
Okay.
usually. Some of them, a lot of them in Mothwing started out untitled, but I needed to title them all so I could have a table of contents. Looks a little nicer, looks a little better, and like, if you're going to, I am a very big promoter of if you're going to speak something aloud, if you're going to put it out there, it needs a name because names have power. You can control it. You can own it. It is yours if it's named. Which there's nothing wrong with leaving things untitled because some things, they don't need a name. They just are. But I think for my poetry, it's like if I'm going to be reading these aloud, putting them out there, I need something that I can call them and use for them.
I believe that as well. Sometimes putting a name to something does add to the power.
Yeah. Names are powerful.
I think that you are so fantastic.
Right back at ya.
Thank you. And I'm like honestly so excited to have you here. And I just would love if you could tell the folks like how to keep up with you, where to keep up with you.
You can keep up with my poetry. I don't post a lot. Kind of depends. It's poetry and a little bit of photography, like phone photography. At Where Two Walls Meet on Instagram. My personal page is fela.the.bat on Instagram as well. I'm mostly on Instagram. Don't really have a Facebook. I'm not getting on Twitter. That's my personal page. I really only let for people I know on there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If people want to try and follow me, they can try and follow me. And if you got a cool vibe, I'll let you follow me.
Yeah.
You can find my chainmail jewelry at ramona.chainmail on Instagram as well.
I love that. That's so awesome. But thank you so much
thank you for having
sitting
me.
down, and talking. I literally feel like I want to talk with you more. Like we have to do
Another episode.
Yeah, or another episode, but also like I'd love to just like sit and talk with you like away from everyone, like our own time. Because you just are so interesting, and I love your perspective to writing, and I just like it's such a soft spot in my heart. Poetry is, and I just love anyone who's honestly vulnerable. And that's like the first thing that I got from your poetry. So yeah,
I
so happy
appreciate
to have
that.
you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yay! Aw, well, we are all finished.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, so I hope you guys were into those vibes. I did mention that we will have links to her writings and the books that she was published, but actually the works in reference were limited edition in print. So unfortunately, I cannot link those, but I will link as much as I can her own body of work, etc. In the meantime, I will also have her social medias alongside just some cool things for my own doing. Remember to love yourself, to care for yourself, to be honest and real with yourself. I'm sending you guys paz y amor, and continue to support and share. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Besitos.